Good
Okay,
evening,
sir.
distinguished. All right, sir. Thank you, sir, Mr. Kehinde. So, good evening, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome you to today's knowledge sharing session. The Public Service Knowledge Hub platform was created with a simple but important goal to improve a space where public servants can learn, share knowledge, build capacity, and strengthen professionalism in the public service. Today's topic, data protection and human resource management in the public service, is timely and very important. As public servants, we handle sensitive information daily, and the responsibility of protecting such data is central to maintaining trust, professionalism, and accountability within the public service. We are privileged to have a knowledgeable facilitator who will guide us through this important subject. At this point, I will invite Usamot, our moderator, to take over the proceeding for today's session. Thank you very much. Usamot, you have the floor, please. Usamot, are you with us? Unmute yourself.
I'm here, sir.
All
Yes, sir.
right.
Yes, sir. Please, sir, kindly confirm that the facilitator is here with us, sir.
He's here with us, confirm.
All right, sir. I would like to usher in our facilitator for today's knowledge sharing session, Mr. Kehinde Ibrahim, a respected professional in the field of data governance and digital architecture. Mr. Ibrahim serves as the head of Data Privacy and Enterprise Architecture Unit at the Lagos State Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. He is also a certified professional with memberships and recognitions in data privacy and information management, bringing a wealth of expertise to this important subject. With his experience at the intersection of technology, policy, and data protection, he is well positioned to guide us through the principles and practical implications of safeguarding personal and institutional data within the public service environment. We are confident that today's session will be insightful and enriching for all participants. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Kehinde Ibrahim as he takes us through today's presentation. Mr. Kehinde Ibrahim, sir, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Usamat. Thank you very much, Mr. Jamiu. So before I put on my share my screen, I want to believe I have the permissions to share my screen. Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, but before I do that, I want to firstly thank the organizers of this session today. It's a privilege to actually be invited to come and talk about what we've actually been talking with different MDAs, the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, being the coordinating ministry for data protection for the states. We've been preaching the gospel of data protection, and I'm glad that we have now been invited to actually speak about it. Our topic for today is going to be data protection and human resource management in the public service. But before I actually start with that, please, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once again, I would like to thank the permanent secretary of the Public Service Office for actually recommending us for this for today's edition of the awareness done by PSO. Thank you very much, ma. So as you can see my screen, we start with the Nigerian Data Protection Act, because if we are going to be speaking about data protection, we need to know how it's originated. The act is already a law in the country, that mandates us to protect any personal data that we come across. So from my screen, you can see Mr. President, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, signing a document, right? This was when he signed into law the Nigerian Data Protection Act. The Nigerian Data Protection Act was signed into law June 12, 2023. In fact, to show you how important this act was, this was one of the first actions he did, when he got into office. I mean, he got into office May 29, and 2 weeks later, June 12, he signed this bill into law. And to even show you how significant it is, it chose a very, very, peculiar day to actually sign it into law, June 12. So I'm just going to tell you what this act says in a nutshell, right? So what this act says is this. It says, if I come to your organization, right, and you've requested that I submit or I drop my personal data for the purpose of which you collect that information. Once I submit that information, I'm now a data subject of your organization. And now you are now mandated by the act to ensure that that data that I've given you, it is adequately protected. That's one. And number two, it means that you cannot use it other than the purpose of which you have collected it. So I'm just going to give you an example to that. So let's say I've gone to maybe one of our MDs, let's say LRS, for example. LRS, they now ask me for my data. The only reason why LRS will ask me for my data is for tax purposes, right? So I expect them to use that data for tax purposes. But let's say along the line, I get a phone call one day and somebody says, Mr. Kehinde Ibrahim, and they are trying to probably market something to maybe they are trying to sell me land or try to offer me a loan. And I now do my investigations and I find out that, how did you get my number? After much investigation, I now found out that my number was, which is my personal data, was actually shared with this third party through LRS. So what does that mean? It means that LRS have now used my data other than the purpose of which they've requested it. So now the act says that is a breach. Now organizations will be fined if you, number one, don't protect the data you've collected, or you use that data other than the purpose of which you've collected it. So, so let's talk about digital transformation. We said the world is not entirely digital now, which is quite true, right? A lot of us, we have our physical devices, right? We have our laptops, we have our mobile phones, we have our tablets. And what are we doing? We are constantly generating data. I'm sure a lot of us, we probably have one social media account or the other. Most of us probably have a Facebook account, right? Yeah, so Facebook, you sign up to a service on, sign up to Facebook, you've uploaded the profile of yourself, you're sharing data about yourself, pictures of your loved ones, all this data that we're sharing, we actually, we're generating them, and all this data are actually residing on a database. So imagine if somebody that is in control of that database now starts sharing that data. You know what they say now? They say data is the new oil. And it's right. The data is actually the new oil. People now make money off data. If I have a database of, let's say, 100 people, right? Trust me, you find organizations that are willing to buy that database from you. Like people like I said, people that probably wants to offer you loan, people that wants to sell a service to you, probably sell land to you. You know, all these people are looking for data because they know that by the time they get in touch with everyone on that database, at least they will see somebody that will actually, patronize them. So that's why we say data is the new oil. So now we said we have to start holding organizations responsible for the data that they collect. Hence the reason why the Data Protection Act was put in place by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So let's just get to the definition of data protection. Data protection, they said, is the process of safeguarding data from corruption, unauthorized access, compromise, or loss. So that means you collect data. It could either be in electronic form, it could be in the physical form. Maybe you collected it in your files or your folder, like we have in the registry in our NDAs. Either you collected them on a hard drive, right? The process of safeguarding all those files you've collected from corruption, unauthorized access, compromise, or loss is what we know as data protection. So I've already talked about the NDPA, which is Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023. They said it's a legal framework for the protection of personal information. It also establishes the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. So now we have a regulatory body that ensures that organizations actually comply with this act. That regulatory body is known as the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. So these are the people that will come after your organization if they feel like or they've learned that there's a breach. Even you as data subjects, you that someone has collected their data, if any organization actually shares your data irresponsibly, you can actually go to the the Nigerian Data Protection Commission and lay a complaint, right? And that organization will be investigated. So for us, so before we really jump, I just wanted to let you know what data protection is, what we as a state are doing in regards complying with this act, right? So for us, Mr. Governor set the ball rolling. He inaugurated a steering committee to oversee the implementation of data protection or data governance in the state. This committee was inaugurated in 2021, although I said this act was signed into law in 2023. But it was actually, data protection started in Nigeria in 2021 during 2019, during the former President Buhari's regime. Then it wasn't known as the NDPA. It was known as the NDPR, that's the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, right? The difference between the NDPR and the NDPA is that the NDPR has now gone through the House of Assembly and is now being signed into law, so which now makes it an act. So we started this thing when it was still the regulation. Like I said, Mr. Governor set the ball rolling, inaugurated the committee. These are members of the committee. We have the Honorable Attorney General, who is the chairman of the committee. We have the head of service in that committee as well, HC MIST. This is just to show you how serious or how important we take data protection in the state. So these are members of the committee. Their sole role is to ensure that the state, complies with the act and ensure that the data protection is rolled out to all the ministries, departments, and agencies we have. So aside from the steering committee, what we set up again is a technical committee. We all know that, steering committee members, they are all cabinet members. A lot of time they do not have that time to carry out their roles and responsibilities. So they set up a technical committee member. These are kind of like their foot soldiers, right? These are the people that actually ensure that, policies are rolled out, data protection officers are established in all MDAs, workshops are done, and different other tasks has been assigned to the technical committee. So this is just to show, these are members of the committee. We have them taken from different MDAs. The second to the last one, Dr. Barasoni, he sits on the committee as a consultant in an advisory role. Dr. Barrett is the Chief Information Security Officer for the old GTCO. So that means GT Bank and their holdings. Is the Chief Information Security Officer. So he sits on that committee as well, on an advisory role. So this just to show you the data protection team that we have. The coordinating ministry, like I said, from the beginning, is the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. The committees, we have the steering committees, technical committee. We have what you call DPCOs. DPCOs are kind of like consultants that carry out data protection services for the state. We have about 5 at the moment. Then we have DPOs. These are data protection officers. These are members of staff that we've established in about 110 MDAs, right? So their whole or their sole responsibility is to ensure that their MDAs actually comply with the Data Protection Act. So this is just a project analytics of what's been done on the project so far. We said we've done sensitization and awareness in about 110 MDAs. In those 110 MDAs, we have 110 data protection officers established. So apart from even just doing sensitization and awareness of the MDAs, we've targeted heads of caterers as well. So yeah, workshop has been done for all heads of accounts, procurement, planning, statewide. Even body of permanent secretaries and the cabinet members. Mr. Governor invited us to come and do a session with the incoming cabinet members then when they were newly appointed. It just lets you know how important, Lagos State government is taking compliance with the Nigerian Data Protection Act. So part of what the Act says is this. It says just like you do your tax audits or your financial audits, now you are mandated by law to actually carry out what you call data protection audits. So now we have to start carrying out these audits, right? And this is just to show you audits that we've been done so far. So what happens is you get a DPCO, which I mentioned earlier. They come to the MDA, carry out what they call a data protection impact assessment. They look at your processes, kind of data you collect, how you handle those data, how you secure those data. They come up with a comprehensive, list of what you've done, and the result they file it with the regulatory body, which is the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. So once that is filed, the commission looks at the audit report, and if they are okay with it, they issue you with a trust mark. So that trust mark shows that you have been compliant for the year. So these are just some audits that have been done: 2021, 2023, 2025. We've done audits. 2026, we are in the process of doing that as well. So this is just briefly what has been done so far. So what we've been doing is we've been doing this project in phases, establishing, doing workshops in the MDAs, right? So if you look at the MDAs in phase 1, we chose these MDAs because they actually collect quite a lot of data. So what we've done is we've done sensitization and awareness there. Phase 2, we target. If you look at the list in phase 2, these are like commissions. These are offices that deals with with the civil service. So when we're talking about data protection, we are not just talking about our residents or people that do business with the state. We are talking about even us as civil servants. We are data subjects. And for every data that we give to the government, we expect that they are actually well protected. So yeah, we went to all these commissions, where we actually did data protection workshops for them. Each of all these phases, I've actually gone through workshop. All of them have a data protection officer, established in them. So please, for all my audience, I would like you to go back. If your name is on this list, go back, or if your MD is on this list, go back and try and find out who your data protection officer is. I believe everyone whose agency or which MDA comes up here should know who their data protection officer is. So the fourth phase was what we did last year. We did about 64 MDAs in this phase. In fact, I'll tell you for a fact that all our general hospitals or our secondary health facilities, they all have a data protection officer established in them, which is very, very necessary, because you and I know that a place where sensitive personal information or personal data fly about is in these general hospitals. So we needed them to actually comply with the Nigerian Data Protection Act. So what have we done again? We have rolled out policies, because data protection is new, right? How do we guide our employees or members of staff to actually comply with the act? So what we've been doing is we've been rolling out policies, right? We've rolled out about 8 policies right now. Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology in conjunction with Ministry of Justice, right? So we've done the email policy, ClearDex policy. I will have loved to go into them, one by one, but because I know time, we only have an hour, so I will leave that for another day. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still going to share a QR code or where you can actually scan and you can have access to all these policies we rolled out. All these policies are all backed by circulars. So you see the circular. In fact, circulars are rolled out. We've rolled out a circular on the implementation of the Nigerian Data Protection Act in the public service. Even the data protection officer, they have their roles, backed by circular, the roles and responsibilities. And we are even talking about adherence to the Nigerian Data Protection Act by third parties. So we are saying that if MDAs are probably engaging a consultant to probably process data on their behalf, now we have some set of conditions that those third parties, vendors and consultants have to meet before they can carry out, those requests from the MDAs. So I hope that has given you a little overview on what data protection is and what the state is doing regarding complying with the Nigerian Data Protection Act. Okay. Sorry, am I still audible? Mr. Jami, can you still
Yes,
hear me?
sir. You are, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, for data protection, there are principles that guides you protecting data, right? So the Act have listed 7 principles that you should abide by. So we are going to tie those principles to human resource management, how you handle data in HR, departments, right? So, like I said, 7 of the principles are: we have lawfulness, fairness, and transparency, which is one. Purpose limitation is another one. Data minimization, accuracy, The fifth one is storage limitation. The sixth one is integrity and confidentiality. And the seventh one is availability. So we're saying so let's try and link all this to. Sorry, I'm just having a call coming. I'm just trying to mute that call. Okay. So we said public service HR departments manage sensitive employee information. So we're talking about personal data, personal records. So what do let me even just break down what personal data is, because you're going to hear me use that word a lot. Personal data basically means any information that I can use to identify you. So I'll give an example. Your name is your personal information. Your email address, your phone number, is your personal data. Even there's unique identifiers that I can use to identify you as well, like your NIN. If I have your NIN, I can use it to identify you. If I have your BVN, right? If I have your LASTRA ID, I can use it to identify you, right? So even up to the MAC address of your phone, the MAC address of a computer, the IMEI of your phone, your Facebook accounts or your social media accounts, all these things are known as personal data. So we expect that if you are the kind of organization that collects this kind of data, you now have, every responsibility to actually, share it. So we are going to start with the first principle. It says that's lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. So they said if you handle data, you should, the principles you should look out for in handling them, it's lawfulness. What is the reason for me collecting this data, right? You need to look at the lawful basis for collecting it. You need to look at the lawful basis. When you've collected, you need to look at the lawful basis for you probably sharing it. It's talked about fairness. It talked about transparency. They said data must be collected and processed legally, fairly, and openly, right? It's because if we have gone through, anyone that's gone through our data protection workshops before, we talk about lawful basis for collecting data. So we are saying that if you are collecting data, it has to be for a reason. Gone are the days that you just open up shop and say, bring your data. Now, if you are collecting data, there has to be a lawful reason why you're collecting it. And like I said, when you want to process data, that data, you can only use it for that lawful reason or that lawful purpose of which you have collected it. There needs to be clear communication on any data that you've collected. It said employees must know why their data is collected and how it will be used. Policy compliance, that's transparency. HR must follow government data protection laws and policies. So part of our policies, for example, when we wanted to start this program, there was a message that popped up from Zoom. It told us that this meeting is being recorded, right? So that is fairness because they actually giving you or show you that message. They are giving you basically your right to be informed. A video of you is your personal data as well. So for the fact that they are collecting that data, they needed to let you know. So that's fairness. It's the same thing as when you go online. I'm sure a lot of us have gone into some sites whereby you try to access the site, then this cookie thing will pop up, right? Cookie policy. So they'll tell you to accept or reject policies or the cookie policy, right? So once you accept that policy, it's basically they telling you that, you know what, we might actually, target you for marketing. They are going to, so what cookies does is it looks at your browsing pattern or your browsing behavior, right? So it now sends you like products or services that matches, so you find out that, okay, you accepted a cookie. You are probably looking at one bag and all of a sudden you leave that site and that same bag keeps popping up, right? It's because you've accepted cookies. But the organization, in fairness, had to let you know, had to get kind of like your consent. You give them their consent, your consent to actually target you for marketing. So, like I said, data must be collected and processed legally. So it's giving recruitment examples now, applicants provide they provide qualifications, address, and ID numbers. HR must clearly state information, what the information is it's going to be used for. So let's say Civil Service Commission, you are in charge of recruiting, right? Members of public has actually applied. They dropped their personal data with you. You should be able to let them know the reason, why you are actually collecting that data. You must let them know that recruitment is that data is for recruitment evaluation only. Transparent data. So it's kind of like building trust, the transparent data, and it builds trust between employees, and public institutions. So it talks about purpose limitation as well. If you are going to process data, it needs to be for a specific purpose. I mentioned that before. It's for that. If you collected data, you can only use it for that specific purpose that you have actually requested for it. So they're saying that if collected for health insurance, it should not be used for promotion decisions, performance evaluation, or disciplinary actions. If you are collected, that is for medical information. I'll use it as an example. They said using data beyond the original purpose may lead to ethical violations and legal consequences. So there needs to be a purpose of which you've collected that data, right? For us or for admin, we know it's for, we can use it for different things. It could be for employee, promotions. It could be anything that has to do with that employee's, job history along his job description. Yes, you're allowed to. So that's the purpose of which you're processing that data. Anything other than that, it should not be. Another one they said is data minimization. They say collect only what is necessary. HR department should avoid collecting excessive personal information. I'll tell you for a fact that in Lagos State, when we do audits, the data protection audits that I said, one of the areas where we fail, where a lot of all our MDs fail, is the area of this data minimization, right? And it has to do with when we are doing our audits, nominal role. So has anyone seen that nominal role before? Right. Nominal role is a document that basically, says every information about a member of staff, right? There is nothing like minimization in that nominal role. So in nominal role, you see your name, you see your place of birth, you see your next of kin, these are information that, when we're doing, I don't know how you you do staff audits from him, or in my MDA, when you're doing staff audits, right? You go to the auditor and you go to this nominal role. You look for your name on this nominal role and you sign against it. In that process of signing against your name, you are able to see the data of everybody else that is on that nominal role. And that is a breach because you're only supposed to see your own data, right? So they said we've not applied data minimization to our nominal role, especially when you're doing audits. Should we actually have all those fields in there? You know, that is the question that they asked. We find out that some HR will probably, let's say, they're trying to do training for members of staff, right? They now want to send the list of those that are supposed to show up for training. So I've seen that before. You now get a WhatsApp message that has an Excel sheet of everybody that is going for that training. And you find out that what is even in that Excel sheet is basically they putting all the data on the nominal role in that Excel sheet and they send it by WhatsApp. That is a data breach. So when we're talking about data minimization, so you want to send somebody for a training, you should minimize the kind of data that should be on that Excel sheet. If you put the person's Oracle number, put their name, and you put their, let's say, their MDA, that is data minimization. But by the time you now start expanding it, you now put their name, you probably put their phone number, you put their address in it, you put their date of birth in it. I mean, if it's for training, do you really need to put all those information in that Excel spreadsheet? The answer is no, right? A vendor comes to you and say, you know what, we want to probably do, we want to build a solution or want to do a project with you. We will need information about your maybe members or staff. What normally happens is this: you just find out that HR or people in charge of data will probably just bring out nominal role and give it to the consultant, and say, yeah, go and pick what you want from there. No, that is actually a breach. You are supposed to sit down with that consultant, look at the project that they want to do, right? And look at the data sets that will be needed to actually get them do what they want to do. I mean, it could be that they just wanted to do a research. Maybe they want to know the number of homeless people in a particular area. There's no need for you putting, someone's date of birth there, putting addresses or whatever. Data minimization is what, so if we are HR, please, if you get that call that, send us a list of this social person, you need to ask questions that, what are the things you probably need? What is the intention of this project? That intention lets you know the kind of data that you give them. So it talks about accuracy as well. They said employee records must be regularly updated and verified to ensure correctness. So we need to set up a mechanism whereby there are regular updates. There are examples that there's some people, maybe female, they come into the service as single, right? And along the line they get married. Obviously, their data needs to be updated. So are there regular updates? That should be part of what we do when we are handling data. Correct documentation, because accuracy says that if you have the wrong data of your data subject, then that is against the principles of data protection. So you need to have correct documentation, salary records, contact information, promotions, everything must be properly documented. Sorry, I wanted to, this data minimization, let me go because this is very important. There was a circular, I don't know if everyone saw this circular that came out that says that we are supposed to drop our NIN information, I think for this global insurance purpose. So a circular came out, says we need to drop some personal data with an NIN, and we were given a date to submit. And I saw the circular, and I had to call my PS, and I'm like, we are being asked to submit a very, very sensitive identifier, which is NIN. NIN is not something that you just give to anybody. Even NIMSI will tell you, do not share your NIN with anyone. But here we have a circular that says, so we're like, you know what, we need to actually, speak with where that circular originated from. We found out that was Ministry of Finance. And we told them that this is a recipe for a breach. Let me tell you what it will cost the state if the regulatory body actually investigates us and we find out that Lagos State has actually breached the data of their employees. It's going to cost the state 2% of our annual gross revenue. You and I know how much 2% is. That's 100 of millions. So we said this is a recipe for a breach. There is no way you can tell people to drop their NIN. And, we found out that a lot of MDAs were even trying to collect it manually. You can't collect that kind of data manually. There has to be an electronic way of actually, collecting it. So we had to, we've written to let them know that exercise shouldn't happen the way it should happen. In fact, what NIMSI says is this. It says, if any organization asks for your NIN, you are not to give them that NIN. What you are supposed to give them is what you call a virtual NIN, right? So virtual NIN is something you can generate. It's a temporary NIN that will max your original NIN, right? So the organizations or the insurance company that is requesting for this data, what they are supposed to do is give us their agent code. There's a way each member of staff will generate a virtual NIN, and that will be what you put in that list that we were told to submit. That way nobody knows, So that's part of, so I just said I should put that out there. So I've talked about accuracy, I've talked about storage limitation. So another thing that the principle says, it says you should have a retention policy. So if you collect data, how long are you supposed to keep that data for? What the act says is this. It says you cannot keep data forever, right? You need to specify how long you are keeping data for. So for example, now you have admin has gone to take minutes of maybe management meeting, right? Or there's an organization that's come to do meetings with your MDA, and you now pass around a paper for them to fill in, their data, attendance list, right? So they fill in the attendance list. So ask yourself, how long are you supposed to keep that paper for, right? So there should be, are you supposed to keep it forever? Or let's say, are you not supposed to even make that paper electronic, right? And maybe discard the physical one. They always say that the hardest data that you can keep is physical data. So it's easier if it's electronic. So there has to be a retention policy for every data that you collect. For Lagos State, we are working on a retention policy. We have, there's an MDA that's actually supposed to work on the retention policy. So they're supposed to sit down with all the MDAs, right? look at the different data they collect, and put a retention period to this. So they said public service organizations should establish clear retention policies for employee records. Recruitment records deleted after a defined period. So if a member of staff retires or leaves, how long are we supposed to keep that data for, right? All disciplinary files, are they to be archived for future references, or are they to be deleted after that member of staff has probably left the service? You need to have a defined retention policy. So those are the ways you can safely undo data in HR. So the benefits, they say keeping unnecessary data increases security risk, and storage costs. The more your data is, the more you need to now start paying for storage. So there needs to be a retention policy, storage limitation. So it talks about integrity and confidentiality as well. So personal data must be protected against unauthorized access. For us, we know that we still deal a lot with paper-based data. So we have our folders in the registry, which is manned by the admin. So what kind of measures have you put in place? Can I just walk into the registry and just ask for a colleague of mine's personal file and have access to it? No. So there needs to be a clear, defined way of protecting our data. In fact, one of the things we've done is we've given our data protection officers what you call a data subject access request register, whereby that register, if anyone goes into registry and asks for a file, you need to fill in that register, So you put down your name, reason why you want to have access to that register, the date you had access to it, the time. So it's kind of like a logbook, So these are kind of security measures, right? So those are for physical files. For your electronic, files, these are residing on your computers. What password protection feature have you put on it? One of the policies that Lagos State has rolled out is our password policy. So we are saying for your Lagos Connect, right? You must make sure you have a very strong password for it. We call them alphanumeric password. Passwords that has numbers, that has letters, uppercase, lowercase. For your Lagos Connect, same thing as your computer. You should have a password, right? I shouldn't be able to have access to your computer and just go in like that. It should be password protected. So those are the measures as an HR person. You have your computer, you have your laptop. Make sure that you put in a password. Apart from that, we're even talking about ClearDesk, right? ClearDesk is another ClearDesk policy is another policy the state has ruled out. They are saying that at the end of the day, when you are finished with the file or folder you are working with, make sure that you lock them away. If you don't have where to lock them in, go and put them back in the registry. Because I'll tell you for a fact, the easiest way someone can breach, right, is for them to have access to those files, right? You feel you've left the file on the table, but somebody will just go there. Nobody steals files anymore. What they do is they'll probably just take their phone, take a snapshot of whatever information they need, and they send it to whoever they want to send it to. So please, password protect your computer, make sure that you have a clear desk at the end of the day. And apart from clear desk, they're even saying clear screen as well. Clear screen means that you're working on a sensitive material on your computer, and you probably need to take a break, or you probably need to go and grab something to eat. Lock your computer, right? I'm sure, are you the kind of person that if I come to your desktop, almost all the files you have actually put them on the desktop. There's some people, you just go to their desktop and you see files all over that desktop. No, it shouldn't be the case. You should try and have a clear screen as well. Have files or folders, that you put all these things in. It could be your documents or something. At least if somebody is going to have access to your computer, make them work hard before they see whatever they are, searching for, instead of you just having all these icons, files on your. So clear screen, clear decks, password protect. Another thing we are going to do, and I'm going to talk about, because this happens a lot with HR. So HR will ask MDAs to probably submit a copy of nominal roll, maybe via a flash drive. Please, this is not a good way of handling data. We keep telling people that if you are going to send something like nominal roll, please don't send it by putting it on the flash drive, unless you have the skills to actually encrypt that flash drive. Please, because everybody loses flash drive all the time. If you are going to send those kind of information, request for that person's official email address. Email is another policy that we've rolled out. We are saying if you're going to be sending official correspondence, please send it via your official email. When I say official email, I'm talking about your lagosstate.gov.ng. Please, we don't want you sending it via your Yahoo Mail or your Gmail. It should be via your official email. So please, we've talked about for integrity and confidentiality, we've talked about password protection, we've talked about clear decks and clear screen. We talked about data encryption. So like I said, there's some confidential files that, if you have to store them, if you have to put them on a flash drive or an external drive, you should make sure that there's an encryption on that drive. So encryption means that if you lose that drive and anyone has access to it, they cannot access the information on that drive unless, they have the encryption key that you should have set up. So integrity, confidentiality. So they said only authorized staff can have access to medical records, salary information, and disciplinary reports. Failure to secure employee data can lead to data breach. I spoke about data breach. It's something that will cost the state if it happens, and loss of public trust. Accountability, that's another one, another principle of data protection that we need to abide by. That this is actually the last one. So they said implement policies. Policies we have actually rolled out. Clear data protection policies must be established, but it's one thing rolling out policies, and it's another thing if it's actually being implemented in the MDA. The data protection officers are supposed to ensure that these are policies that we rolled out, are actually, being followed through. Those are the ways that, you can actually ensure accountability. Then they say training of staff. You need to train your staff on data handling, right? Comprehensive training on data protection, privacy practices. And please, when we're doing this training, I always say that when you're doing training should be from the bottom up. although people will always say top to bottom, but I always say that from the bottom up, because what always happens is the people at the bottom are always being neglected when it comes to training. And I'll tell you for a fact that for privacy, right, the people that can get you in trouble the most are the bottom, the low cadre employees. So I'll give you an example, right? So you go to an MDA, right? Who is the first person you are going to see at the desk? It could be an admin officer, or it could be a security officer that is still under admin. So what has happened? You've put a register, a visitor's register, in front of this staff, this locator staff. So anybody that comes in to see maybe the permanent secretary or to see the commissioner, they will sign into that register, right? And what are the data they're going to put there? They're going to put their personal data. They put their name. You ask them for their phone number. You ask them for their address. They put all that in, right? So let's say one of these, all these boys that hang around MDAs, right? A big man has come to see maybe the commissioner and they see him walking. And they come into your MDA and they say they meet the security person. They're like, Mongosha, any, but they say one number. She book a number is in the register. She call. For your security purposes, it does not see it as anything, right? You probably feel like it's helping someone out. But trust me, if that guy takes that number from that register and he calls that big man, and that big man finds out that it was when he paid a visit to the MDA that his number was given out, that is a breach. That person can actually sue the Lagos State government because now you've used this data other than the purpose of which you've asked him to drop it. Another example is your cleaner, right? Your cleaner, maybe they are cleaning your office. Let's say they go probably to the auditor's office. Auditor, maybe a day earlier, she has overprinted nominal row, and obviously she needs to discard the one that is overprinted. So she leaves it for the cleaner to, to discard. Cleaner sees a bunch of paper and she sees that I might probably just sell this to Yamulika Taboli. She does not see it as anything. You wanted to throw that paper away anyway. So and she's thinking I might as well make money off it. But by the time you train them and they know the consequence, because what would happen is if she sells that paper to Yamulika and it goes out there, it is something that will cost, the Lagos State government heavy because that is a breach. It could even be, an information containing, external people that have come, that you've done business with, and that paper is out there. So we need to teach them about, so that's why we need to train your staff, ways of handling, personal data, right? Gone are the days where you just discard them anyhow. Now there are even ways, data protection has said you need to discard those kind of information. You can't just tear them up. You need to use a proper shredder. It's even telling us that we need to use a cross-cut shredder. So yeah, comprehensive training on privacy practices. You have to document who access data, when updated, and how breaches are handled. I've spoken about that. For our registry, please, there has to be because, like I said, physical data is very hard to track. In fact, from what I know, the only way you know if a file is missing in the registry is when somebody comes to look for it. So you need to actually put in adequate mechanism and try and tie somebody to, to different files and folders, so that if any the breach happens, you know that okay, this person is supposed to be the one responsible for it. You know, we in science and tech, we still, we advocate for automation, right? Digitalization. If our data is digitalized and we do away with files and folders, it will be easy to actually comply with this Nigerian Data Protection Act. Because like I said, the easiest data you can protect is electronic data. With electronic data, if anyone tampers with it, there's an electronic trail. You can put user access on it that, okay, this so data is only the sets of personnel that can access them. If they are not within that sets of personnel, you cannot access them. So that is why, we are actually advocating that it's about time that we do away with physical documents or physical data and embrace electronic data. So, in summary, I'm just going to tell you what we've actually spoken about. The first principle, for HR application is to inform employees on how their data is used. Proper limitation is to use employees' data only for intended purpose. That's the summary. Data minimization, collect only necessary HR information, and accuracy, keep employee records updated. Storage limitation, delete or archive old HR data. That saves you, even storage, storage spaces, integrity and confidentiality, secure employee data systems, and accountability, maintain policies, and compliance records. So the key message in all this, like we said, HR department in public service are custodians of employee information. So we expect employee privacy, legal compliance, organizational integrity, and public trust. Good HR management today requires good data protection practices. So thank you very much, Mr. Jamiu. So this is just, if you have any questions, or if you need to reach out on data protection, we've given you our handles. This is the email address, dataprotection@lagostate.gov.ng. You can send us a message if you need to inquire more of what the state is doing regarding. And these are our social media handles as well, for Facebook and X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I've already shared the slides will be shared with Mr. Jamiu, so he can send that to you. And if you want to access all the data protection policies that the state has actually rolled out, all the circulars we've rolled out, please scan this QR code. Because if you scan it with your phone, it takes you to a Dropbox folder where you can access all policies that the Lagos State government has rolled out. I mean, we're going to roll out, we are still rolling out more. When we roll them out, we're going to share them with your data protection officer. Like I said, for all the MDAs that were on the list I showed earlier, that we've already established a DPO, kindly meet, kindly try and know who your data protection officer is. Because like I said, they are the ones that will be responsible for compliance in your MDA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir Mott, are you still with us? Okay, thank you very much for this.
Yeah, I'm still here, sir.
Okay, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Kende Ibrahim, for that insightful and highly enlightening presentation. The practical perspectives you shared on responsible data handling
confidentiality, compliance with data protection principles, and the need for public institutions to maintain trust through proper data governance are highly appreciated. On behalf of the Public Service Knowledge Hub, we thank you for taking time out of your
Thank you.
demanding schedule to share your knowledge and experience with us today. Thank you very much, Mr. Kehinde Ibrahim. So now
Thank
we'll
you very
move
much,
into
ma'am.
the interactive segment. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. We'll now move into the interactive segment of the session, which is the questions and answers segment. Participants who have questions or contributions may kindly indicate through the chat box or raise their virtual hand. You can please send your questions through the chat box or raise your hand, so you'll be called to ask your questions.
I think we have an Aurelua Dapo Thomas that's put up
Okay.
his hands.
Good evening.
Honorable, you have the floor.
Yeah. Good evening.
If you can unmute him.
Yes, I've been unmuted. Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. So it's very insightful. Thank you very much. So just have two particular questions, or yes, let me put it like that. Firstly, so I've noticed when our numbers are being given out, I don't know if the Committee for Data Protection is investigating why our numbers are being given out to loan organizations or loan platforms. So usually there are some periods where salary will drop, and then during that same period, a particular loan organization will be sending us messages on, okay, as a Lagos State staff, you are able to take a loan of 5 million or all those kind of things. So that shows that our numbers have been leaked to or have been given to different platforms, and even not just loan platforms. Even there was a particular period that I was sent a text, and in the text it was saying that, okay, I've been nominated to attend a particular youth empowerment program near Fela Shrine. So I was not the only one that got that text. Some other people got that text, and of course I did not go because I had to check my learning and development if they nominated me, and they said no. So that's to show that my number was given out somewhere. But some other people that did not check went to the place and found out that it was not even organized by the government or by Lagos State government in that particular order. So that means our numbers are being given out in anyhow in that regard. So I don't know what the committee is doing based on that. I don't know if the committee is aware. I don't know what data protection is doing based on that to reduce the way these things occur, because it is in violation. We don't want to receive all those kind of texts, and it could be a scam, because if someone decides to use those platforms and they are being scammed, it will be as if it's the Lagos State government that is doing it. Then secondly, in terms of, you said something about the official email, which is good, but I feel we are not using it the way we should. And due to this fact, some of our data or some of our applications that we write to different MDAs are being seen by everyone. So for example, let's say somebody wants to apply for medical leave, and of course you have to attach evidence. So that means you have to attach medical report and all that. But of course, in the service, you have to attach hard copy. And of course, if you're applying, maybe let's say from Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, it will go through so many different people. It will go through your director before it goes to maybe the clerk of the admin, before it goes to admin, then before the dispatch, it goes to secret registry, let's say in PSO. Before you know, it has gotten to almost 20, 30 people before it actually lands to maybe actually is being answered. And of course, that is a violation, because I don't want people to know my medical issue. But in this particular sense, everybody already knows that I have a medical issue, which is not safe for a lot of people. And it's not just for medical, it's also for a whole lot of things, any application, whether it's leave of absence or whether it's study leave or whatever application that people want to write. So I don't know how the data protection committee can help in reducing this, probably to encourage that, okay, anything that has to do with sensitive files or sensitive applications can be maybe done directly, maybe through the official email. I don't know if they can work on it, because I'm telling you, a lot of people are not comfortable sharing that kind of data out. And of course, some people will share it, they will snap it, they will now call you and say, I saw that you have this medical condition. Sorry, which is not appropriate in that particular sense. So those are just the two aspects I just wanted to ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arelua. So let me start with the second question you came up with, So, I mean, with the medical, you need to probably send in a medical documents, right? And I mean, if you listen to my conversation, I said for us in science and tech, right? When it comes to this Data Protection Act or complying with Data Protection Act, the easiest, I would say the only way, but the easiest way you can actually comply is where you automate, right? If you still need to start carrying file from one person to the other, there is no how that someone will not see the data that you're carrying. But if it was automated, which I know there's an HR solution that's being developed whereby you want to maybe ask for leave requests, you need to submit like medical documentation like this, where you do not, you can actually go on those platforms and actually, make those requests. So at the end of the day, that's the only way that we can actually, bridge that gap on you having to take, your physical documentation, because anything that is physical, trust me, it's not, you can't really guarantee guarantee it to be protected. It doesn't really guarantee your privacy. So until the Lagos State government adopts automation, right, digitalize our records, ensure that these HR applications actually work, that is the only way we can actually resolve this, which I believe Lagos State is working on. I know for science and tech, there's an enterprise application that enterprise architecture that we are trying to do, whereby we're trying to automate all our processes. It's when you automate processes that you can actually guarantee privacy. And regarding the first question you asked, that loan companies actually target civil servants, right? Well, we've had that complaint. The thing is, the government is very vast. We have different MDs. So try to actually pinpoint where exactly that breach is or where that leak is happening. It's going to be difficult, And I will even give us, even us as data subjects, please, when you get those kind of messages, you can try and do your own investigations, right? So part of the rights of a data subject that the Nigerian Data Protection Commission has put is that you have a right to even make complaints to the regulatory body. There were days before that I'm sure you are aware, before when people sign up for loan for these online loan companies, right? Whereby the online loan company, before they give you loan, they ask for access to your contacts, right? So by the time you now default on the loan, they now send messages to all your contacts. All of us used to get that message then. This so person, Lagbajati has run with our money, And it took just one person to take one loan company, Soko Loans up, and that loan company was fined about 50 million naira. I'm sure you will see that a lot of those, in fact, we don't get those messages again, where online companies will start sending, you want to message, just get a message that somebody has collected loan and they have run with their money. You don't get those kind of, because it was a breach. So what we'll say is this: if you get those kind of messages again as a civil servant, you can do your own research, or you can send us an email. That's I've shared our contact details, data protection, and we will look to it. The one for that Fela Shrine, I know that one has stopped as well, because I actually went to that particular place to actually challenge them on how they were able to get, civil servants number. And ever since I think we went there, we have, I think it has stopped, because civil servants don't get that message again. So like I said, test the law. The law is a new law. You can test it. And let me tell you about data protection, what the law says as well. It says that if anybody uses your data or is being shared irresponsibly and that thing has done damage to you, you now have a right to compensation, right? So you can actually even make money off this law. I know somebody that took Zenith Bank to court. What did Zenith Bank do? Zenith Bank was sending him emails and he wasn't banking with Zenith Bank. And what you're supposed to do is write them a letter to stop. And he wrote them a letter to stop sending the emails. They didn't stop. And he took them to court. He didn't even go to the regulatory body. He went to court. And Zenith Bank was fined, I think, 500,000 naira. Although it's a small money, but imagine if everybody started testing the law, right? So it was because of that. Now, if you see mails targeted at you now, you find out that at the bottom of those mails, right, they will write that if this mail is not intended for you, please unsubscribe. It was because of that lawsuit that organizations started doing it. So like I said, for civil servant, if we get those kind of messages, let's report them and let's act on them, And like I said, a lot of data protection is new. You find out that even a lot of these MDs that probably share that data, they probably do not know the consequences of what they are doing. But by the time that's why we're doing this workshop. By the time you know the consequences, you know that, any data that is left or that you are responsible for, you cannot use it other than the purpose of which it's being used. I hope that answers your question. Okay. I think we have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Fumi Daramola, unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, madam.
Thank you very much for hosting us. And Mr. Kennedy has actually done justice to why I was actually raising my hand. So I learned when already Dr. Thomas was talking about all those loan sharks and all. So I was actually going to give an instance that I beg to differ that the details or the data are not actually gotten from Lagos State. Because I, for one, I actually bank with OPay. And you'll be surprised that every now and then they call me to get loan. I want to believe that it's because they see the turnover in that account, so they believe that you are a prospective customer. So for that people call you does not mean that it's from Lagos State. And like I said, those loans that people get from unknown loan sharks, they get people's contacts from them, and so by so doing, your contact is actually shared by friends. Only few people understand that you don't give other people's contact without asking for permission from the owner of the contact. Like when people just walk up to you in the office and they tell you, please, can I have Mr. So-so-so's number? I'll be like, excuse me. If you know him, then you have his number. If you don't have his number, then go and check him in his office. He will give you by himself. So it is not in our place. It is not our right to give other people's number to people that we're not sure whether they want to let their numbers to or not. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. You've done justice to the topic. We appreciate you.
Okay, Mrs. Daramola, thank you so much for that your contribution. Okay, let me check in the chat box if there is any question. Okay, Mr. Kehinde, someone was said, hello, my brother, I can't find my ministry. Okay, WAPA, I think WAPA is not on that list that you share with us, sir. Mr. Kehinde, sir. Mr. Kehinde, are you still with us, sir? Please, am I audible? Is it from my end? Hello, please, if I'm audible, can you signify with your emojis? Okay. All right. Okay. Is Mr. Kehinde still with us? Mr. Kehinde, are you with us, sir? Or maybe network? Okay. Let's wait for Mr. Kehinde to respond to us. And then, question, please signify. Okay, so for participants that are just joining us for the first time, we encourage you to stay connected with the public service knowledge of beyond today's session. Our past session and professional development discussion are available on our YouTube channel. So you can find our YouTube channel link on the chat box. Visit our YouTube channel, like and share it, and learn from there. Mr. Kehinde, are you still? I think a network has kicked Mr. Kehinde out. Oh, okay. Please bear with me. Let me check on it to know what exactly happened.
Question the other person, the other lady wrote on WAPA. That is WAPA, one of the MDAs. Almost all MDAs now have data protection officer. So if your office does not have right now, that means that they are going to be brought on board very soon, because it's actually done in phases. Because I'm also a data protection officer, so it is done in phases. For adventure you don't have yet, you will be one of those that will be actually brought on board very soon. Thank you very much. We want to thank Mr. Kehinde for the insightful, enlightening message. We want to say thank you. We want to thank you, Mr. Jami, for the platform to learn, to share, and also to actually fellowship with others as well. We want to thank your co-hosts. We thank you everyone for coming on board tonight. We appreciate you. And I hope that you have learned one or two things that we can actually go back to different offices and make use of. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Keep striving, keep being better. Thank you and good night.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Oh, his network.
Your network is still dragging, sir. So thank you so much for your time.
So sorry.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your attendance. Okay, Mr. Kehinde, the network is still dragging.
I'm sorry, I just logged back. Yeah, it was network. Okay.
Yes,
I hope we've been able to answer the questions.
Yes. Yeah, you are, sir. You are, sir. Thank you so much, sir. All right, sir. So thank you once again, everyone.
Are we still on?
Yeah, we are about to close the session, sir. Mr. Kennedy, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. We are through. We're about to close the session, sir. So we are just expecting want you to come in. So someone have given vote of thanks. I don't know whether you have any take home for us.
Well, take home. Like I said, the data of there was a message I saw that I wanted to respond to. That was when the network
Okay.
actually went off. Somebody was asking about
Okay.
this NIN collection. They said they were that people that didn't submit were being penalized for it. And I wanted to just respond to that person that we are all data subjects. Yes, there's a circular that says we should compile or we should drop our NIN. But I mean, there's an act as well that says that as a data subject, your data must be processed fairly, right? If I mean, NIN is a very, very sensitive identifier, right? I am sure, I mean, the head of PSO were not really carried or don't really know what it means, if you share someone NIN and it is actually misused. So that's why we as science and tech, we had to come in and there's no how. You should not give your NIN to anyone. So, I mean, you being penalized, I mean, like I said, we've sent a memo to Ministry of Finance to let them know the implications of that request. And I'm sure we will still probably sit down with PSO and ensure that, I mean, people trying to protect their data, they should not be penalized for it. So it's something we should be. So I just wanted to respond to that. That's, it's we should not be forced into giving out a sensitive identifier like that unless we are sure that it's going to be protected. So like I said, we will do more of this sensitization. People need to be aware of their rights as a data subject. People need to be aware of the lawful basis for processing, personal data. And people need to be aware of all the different data protection policies that the Lagos State has rolled out. I'm sure with all this knowledge, we'll be better placed to protect any data or personal data that comes within our reach. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir, Mr. Kennedy. And there is observation here. An officer from WAPA observed that WAPA is not on the list you sent as in during your presentation. So maybe you look into that after.
Women affairs.
Yes, sir.
Well, we are coming to a MDA near you soon. We have just so we are the deputy governor is about to approve a request to get about 30 more MDAs into our compliant MDAs. So I mean, we'll make sure that WAPA is part of the new agencies we are onboarding on this data protection project.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So thank you, everyone. Since we don't have any question again, please let's call it a day. So on behalf of Public Service Knowledge Hub, I say a very big thank you to everyone. So participants should please let your emojis keep coming up to appreciate our guests. Let's see your emojis. Let your emojis coming up. Let it coming up. Okay. Tejumade, going forward, maybe when circular will be rolled out regarding submission of personal data, the DPO should be codified to clear understanding. All right. Okay.
Exactly. That is a very fantastic input. Please, like I said, if the DPO was carried along, I'm sure they will have flagged it before it went to PSO. You know, so those are it's guys. I mean, they will have conducted what you call a data protection impact assessment. You know. So yeah. So that's a very, very brilliant comment from that person from
All right.
Tejumade. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Raji Al-Maroof, please join our. Okay, let me send our Telegram channel. So we can only send the slide to our Telegram and the other channel. So you can join us from there or private chat me because of time, because we are running out of time. This is my number. Private chat me so that I can add you. So private chat me, I will add you. So once again, thank you so much. See you in next session. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kennedy, sir. Thank you, sir.